What's going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a good Wednesday. Bobby Fire, Chu Tabor. We're going to be going over this two-game slate, which we are waiting for a lot more news than you should have for any two-game slate, much less the slate that's in the NBA Cup. And this is one that you assume that most of the questionables will play. But as far as I can tell, the one who I feel like is the most questionable right now would be Josh Hart. And we should know that before game time, but obviously that would change the whole slate if he doesn't play. Because we really are starving for value, and there's as usual with these NBA Cup games, you've got guys you want to spend up on. So, I guess, Sheets, what is sort of your overall outlook? Considering that we are still waiting on this.
Well, first of all, I mean, I have this theory that the NBA DFS gods give us just as much trouble as we can handle.
Yeah.
And I say that because it seems as though there's like a 15-game slate. You're waiting on like 2 or 3 pieces of big news, and you'll get one or two kind of like surprising injuries. Yeah. But then when there's like a 7-game slate, you know what you get? 2 or 3 pieces of big news that you're waiting on, and maybe 1 or 2 injuries. And then when you get to a 1 or 2 game slate, you're still for some reason waiting on 2 or 3 pieces of big news and a 1 or 2 game injury. You know what I mean? And you would think that it wouldn't work that way, but it just does. And the unfortunate reality is if you're waiting for 2 or 3 pieces of news on a 15-game slate, maybe it's not the biggest deal in the world because there's 700 other people to play. Right. But when you're waiting for 2 or 3 pieces of good news on a 2-game slate, you're risking, 20% of the playable players, being completely shuffled around. So unfortunately, that news on a 2-game slate has just so much more leverage. Now the good news is that it is the first game. Okay, so good news, whatever. The good news for people who want to be sure of who they're playing is that it's going to be the first game. Now, what happens? I mean, we could talk about this for just in case the Josh Hart news comes out like later than we want, right? So if Josh Hart is out and they start X, does that necessarily mean that X is like a great play? I mean, I would imagine yes, because Thibodeau just loves to just play his guys. But but what if it's a guy that that's not usually a starter?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm asking.
It's a good question. I guess it depends on who it would be. My guess is they would start either McBride or Precious. And I think then you would have extreme value. And whether or not either of those guys started, I think they would still look like really good plays, as would Cameron Payne getting bumped up as well. I can't see them starting anyone else if Hart is out. It kind of has to be one of those 3 as far as I can tell, unless they do something really weird and they like start Tyler Kolek for no logical reason, or Matt Ryan. I don't see that happening. Let's see real quick. Sorry.
I mean, it's single elimination. So, they got to win.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any screwing around by starting these, I don't say scrubs, but you know what I mean? I don't think they'd want to start some guy, have him play 9 minutes, just to start him.
Yeah, especially the Knicks. That's just not what they do. It just never is. The only guy they ever do that with is Jericho Sims, and that's only at the center spot.
And if you read the news leading up to warm-ups for Jalen Johnson, it was like he wasn't playing. There was like blurbs that there's been no real improvement. Now he's out there warming up. I don't know exactly what that means, but the good news is, like I said, we'll have that news. But Bogdanovich, we're waiting on that. All this stuff matters.
Yeah. It all matters a ton. And I guess I could just go, going over what we've got right now. And again, I always try to think of the ways to try to get different on these slates. And it's hard. It's really hard on this specific one more than most. I guess one angle is no matter what happens, I'm going to have more of Jalen. Like Jalen Johnson's not going to be like crazy low owned, but he'll, we got him at 20%. I want like 3 times that. Andrew Wiggins is one on DraftKings that is going to be low owned, but will be owned on FanDuel. Maybe just play him on DraftKings. That's another thought that has gone through my mind. And then we get back to the one that we've talked about probably more than anyone this year. Why not Clint Capella at low ownership? It seems like more like an Okongwu matchup to me, but so what would I think? If you're telling me that you're going to get him at less than 10% ownership or somewhere around 10%, actually Okongwu is looking low too. So that's something you could do, that you could immediately, you could say, okay, well, I'm playing one of a Congo or Capella. And I think they're actually very reasonable plays given the matchup and everything. And they're getting overlooked right now. So those are probably my favorite, like, get different-ish plays would be both Atlanta centers. And while it feels, again, more like an Okongwu game, if Capella is going to be half the ownership of Okongwu, I would like to be over on that specifically. The other one is Risa Shea, and the other one would be Gary Payton III as a cheapo. But those are very thin. The other one, the ones that are logical to me are both big men from Atlanta as a way to at least get somewhat different on this slate.
And if you wanted to play Trey, you could play Trey with either of those bigs really easily. They run pick and roll a lot still.
Yep.
And especially him and Capella, they really run it well. I mean, they've run it well for 5-6 years.
Yeah.
So you could certainly do that. The other thing I was thinking about, if in terms of like how you can get different, I know it's not the same as football, and I know it's not as the same as a showdown slate. But in showdown, in football, what we like to think about is what type of construction people are likely to do with respect to, okay, so most people play 4 Bengals, 1 Cowboy or something like that. So,
right.
So what we should do is probably play the reverse or something else. From what I've been hearing around the industry and through the Discords, people are just jamming Knicks, like 4 or 5 Knicks. And I'm even hearing, 4 or 5 Knicks with not many Hawks, like 4 or 5 Knicks with 4 or 5 Rockets and throw in Kuminga and off to the races. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if you try to get even a little different from that somehow, maybe 3 Knicks, maybe 3 Hawks and only 2 Knicks or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Even something as easy as that might get you a little different from in construction, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's completely fair. I'm looking at seeing if there's anybody else who I wanted to throw in there as another thing you could do that's different is Dyson Daniels at what seems like an overprice. So that would be like you play Dyson Daniels, Capella, and Trae Young, and you could still play your 3 or 4 Knicks if you wanted to. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Because that's a low enough owned combination. Or on the flip side, you could play Risa Shea. You could play Precious. Precious is one I might talk myself into a little bit just because I just want something that's not going to be 30% owned, and everything seems to be. And as you mentioned, it's all led by the Knicks. They're by no matter what you use, I'm pretty sure that other than Kuminga, the Knicks will be the most popular player you get in your lineups mostly, no matter what you do.
Let's try an MMA technique. What price is Cat right now?
He's 97. Sorry,
he's 95. It looks like on DraftKings.
I thought he's 97. What am I looking at
here? Oh, I'm looking at FanDuel. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
So he's 97. And what's Sengun?
Sengun is, and by the way, he was available at shoot around, so I'm counting him to probably play. He's at 92.
So, I mean, if you want, this is like an MMA trick. You could build like lineups with Towns, and then if the lineups don't have Sengun already in it, just swap Towns out for Sengun.
Mm-hmm.
Eat the 500 and just hope Sengun outscores him.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be unique. And we've seen it happen. Sengun could put up a big ceiling game, so that's something that you could do. It's not, again, playing NBA like I play these other sports is probably a big mistake. You're probably not supposed to be so weird with NBA. So maybe that's not the greatest idea in the world, but just throwing some stuff out there.
Yeah, but that's a reasonable thought. You could say that about. I was trying to think. There was one I had earlier. Well, okay, yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I'm trying to find.
Right.
I had somebody earlier that made some sense. Like this is too bold of one, but again, you don't necessarily need to leave the money on the table. But Jalen Johnson is, if this wasn't Knicks and narrative and all that stuff and back in Madison Square Garden, I don't see Jalen Johnson as being a different play than Trey particularly. And Trey's 9,400 and Jalen Johnson's 8,300, and Trey's going to be more popular than
Trey. That's too much. 1,100, I think.
Yeah. So no, I wouldn't leave it on the table.
Oh,
I'm just saying to maybe overweight your lineups with Jalen Johnson, who also does everything. He creates offense, everything. He's not just like a scorer. But he averages. If you just look at it, it's bizarre because we've had this for a while now this season, and it's kind of always throwing me off because, let's see. Trey's average on the season, 47 fantasy points per game. Jalen Johnson, 45.5. You know what I mean? We're talking about 1.5 fantasy points on average. and basically the same upside. That seems like something to get overweight, the field on. But it's not a huge bold move. Right now, I am getting, in my most recent builds, partly because I forced a little bit of it in, but I'm getting 25% Capella and 25% of Okongwu. That's something to do that's a little bit different. They're not looking to be especially high owned tonight, and I think both of them make a ton of sense.
I mean, right now I have, again, it depends on the news. Right now I have 75% Kaminga. Like I'm probably going to have that regardless. But right now I'm at 60% Brunson, 60% Towns. All right, I'm getting a bunch of Dylan Brooks. That's my third highest owned guy. How about Michael Bridges? You think he might be one of the lower owned of the Knicks starters?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we got Travis in here. I was actually just answering him in here, but I was like, no, this is completely wrong. Like you're completely wrong that people aren't going to play him. Buddy Hield right now is projected to be the 5th highest owned player.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's nothing unique about playing Buddy Hield. In fact, that's a play you might want to get underweight on just because the ownership is going, because we just don't have value. So yeah, he may not end up that way because you might end up with somebody sitting out or something that opens up other value, so that won't make him popular. But he's 4,500, so he's gonna, Sabersim's got him at 40% ownership. I think it'll probably 35, 40 is probably about right where he'll be. And he's got a ton of guys in that range. One other thing is Curry is being projected to be basically half of what Trey's ownership is. I think it might even be more drastic than that. You could stack up the Hawk and Knicks game and then just play Trey at the same price. Basically, play Steph instead of Trey. Yeah, it's a tough slate to get different. It really is. Draymond is, because of his price on DraftKings, is not a play that I individually like all that much. But look, you want low ownership for a guy with a ceiling in a important matchup. Wouldn't be the first time Draymond had a triple-double in a spot like this. That's something. The thin one that I like for value, though, that I think that if I had to use, a really weird one, I think I would maybe play Kyle Anderson instead of Lindy Waters or something like that, because he's not going to have any ownership, Kyle Anderson. And you're speculating on a lot, but it could hit.
I'm not getting any of this Lindsey Waters.
I'm not either, but I'm just seeing that he's looking around 20%. And I'm just wondering how people are going to get all these other guys in without getting him in. Maybe he won't be 20%. Maybe by the end of the day, he ends up at 10. Maybe that's wrong. We know that NBA projections are definitely all over the map until as close to lock as possible.
So what do they say? 6:30 is when this news is supposed to come out. That's the story.
Probably. I'm just taking a quick look to see in case we haven't missed it. Nah, nothing's happened.
Nah, I'm looking at the Discords. I would see it.
Yeah. You and your 700 Discord channels.
Yeah, but there are only a couple that I look at for that.
Yeah, no, I know. Right now, just for what it's worth, my ownership is I do have 76% Kuminga, 73% Towns, 50% McBride, 50% Tari Eason. I have maybe not with Bridges, because actually on DraftKings he's so cheap. Now that I look at it, he's going to actually be pretty popular. I've got 46% of him. I've got 40% of the Looney, which I don't love. 40% of Dylan Brooks, which I don't love. I have 40% of Jalen Johnson, which I do love. And everybody else is sort of nearish to the field outside of Okongwu and Capella. And those are the two that I'm, as of right now, would be the closest thing to a flag plant-ish take, because they're going to be in half my lineups, and combined they should be in about 18 to 20% overall based on the current projections. Dyson Daniels, though, I think I might talk myself into this. Why can't he have a big game here? We've seen it recently out of him. He's incredibly active defensively. Obviously, you need things to go your way, but why can't he at projected 5% ownership? At least we know he's going to play the minutes. I think it's worth taking a gamble on things like that. But it's a tough one. It's a tough slate to get different. And the other thing to remind people is you don't have to get necessarily so different,
So I'm going to predict that I don't know. I'm just going to predict that everybody plays. That's just what I'm going to do.
I think it's a good prediction. I think it makes a lot of sense. I predicted it last night. I got the PJ Washington part wrong.
Who do you think? Okay, let's make pretty. So who do you think's most likely to be out if anybody's out? You think Hart?
I think Hart would be the most likely just because he's the only one they announced late in the day as a game time decision.
Okay, and was he questionable before, or was he? Well, questionable to game time decision.
It's just like a reaffirmation that it's like it's the same thing they did with PJ Washington yesterday.
Right. And who's sat so far? Like has Bogdanovich been out the last couple of games?
No.
Okay.
So sorry, he was at the last game, but not the last couple.
He was out the last game. And Jalen Johnson, was he out the last game? I think he was.
Jalen Johnson was out the last game as well.
Right.
Which is why you got the big Larry Nance game. And look, man, Larry Nance probably is not going to play 1 minute tonight. Maybe because he played well, he gets some run. I don't think so, though. It
doesn't work that way. I don't think
it's just too far fetched. It doesn't work that way for guys who are, at this point, journeyman players. It sometimes works that way for the young guys. Who else?
You know who else has not exactly been confirmed as playing? I think is Sengun.
Yeah, but he was at least at shoot around. If he's at shoot around in a must-win game with something they obviously put effort into, I think it's kind of like I would be surprised about that one. But look, I was surprised last night with PJ Washington. So what can I say? And another thing you could do is backload your lineups just in case there is any of that later game news, and also just because it's just going to be lower owned in general. The Houston Golden State game is definitely the lower owned of the two. Oh, we just got a word from Brendan, who always is good with it. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. So everybody, Trae Young, Johnson, Hunter, Bogdanovich are all in for the Hawks.
Everybody's in. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. You know what? Whoever that is that came in got in ahead of 2 top Discord channels.
Look at that.
Follow. Yep.
Let's go, Brendan.
At that. Hopefully that's confirmed. But that's yeah. Yeah.
I really like that. I did want to reemphasize the Tari Eason. This is not like it's not like a game-changing play. He's supposed to be 25% owned, but I like that I'm getting 50% of them. I have no problem with being way overweight to play like that, and I think this is the right kind of environment for him. I actually think the idea. What if we just did something in the other way? Like, what if I just found a couple guys to fade? Could I really do the Dylan Brooks thing? Yeah. Could I do the Kevon Looney thing? I think I could. You fade those guys, and then maybe that's something that's worth looking at. Maybe I'll try that for $6 on FanDuel. But it's rough, man. This is a rough one. This isn't
that. No, I'm kind of psyched that news is in. And now we're just waiting on Hart, right? Okay.
Yeah, this Hart. Who else? Jashante, that's not really a real questionable thing. Steven Adams is questionable. That would open up more for the Tari Easons and Amen Thompsons. What about Steven Adams as a play? I'm just thinking, get weird. He put up 22 games ago. He's 3,400. No one in a million years is going to play him. What if Şengün gets into early foul trouble and he ends up with 10 and 10 for the game? It's possible.
Lindy Waters, I'm getting like a 12, 10 or 11 point projection. I'm not worried about. Why does Saberson have him so popular?
Well, they only have him at 14 just because there's no value.
They also have him at a higher projection than me. Okay.
Yeah. But Goldie, just for what it's worth, Goldie has him at 10.
Okay.
And that feels, it's just really hard when you get into that bench. And it's so my point was not even that, I don't think I'm going to end up with much Lindy Waters, if any. But I do think that, if you had that play, maybe you play Kyle Anderson instead. There's kind of the same-ish play. But Gary Payton II is probably the correct answer between all of those three. I think Gary Payton is actually a reasonable play. I'll go with that. Let's get 10% of a guy who's going to be 5% owned, something like that. just to be over, or I'll get 15% of them, something like that. I don't know, just those little tweaks that give you a chance. But I think the Capella and the Okongwu is my favorite thing to do. That's my favorite way of getting different on this slate, and I'm going to stick to that no matter what I do. I put a minimum of both of 20% each on both of them, and I'm ending up with a total of 60% now. So that feels pretty good to me. Yeah, that's probably where your best differentiator opportunity, at least from what I can tell.
Let's see how our man does with the Josh Hart news. See if he beats everybody with the Josh Hart news.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because it's still trickling in even on Underdog. It was always right there.
Check this. So I got a Facebook memory back from 15 years ago, like 2009.
Mm-hmm.
And it was when I tweeted about me taking the girls to Jingle Ball 2010. And seventh bill was Taylor Swift.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, there was Justin Bieber, like total headliner, like Jordan Sparks, and like, and it was really funny. Remember, this is 15 years ago. She was like only like 19 years old.
That's crazy.
Yep.
That's really funny.
Yep.
Oh, all right. So let's see. All right. So I'm rerunning my stuff right now, and I'm just gonna refresh and see.
Has anything changed? Really? No, right?
No, nothing's really changed. But I made some changes to the guys that I wanted to get overweight on that I just felt best about.
So who was that? Like who's your
Capella and Okongwu?
Capella and Okongwu. Now you wouldn't play them both, obviously.
I wouldn't play them both, but I actually don't like. It's a kind of slate where you kind of could, because you're either playing for Towns or Şengün, and then one of them will still have some. I think it could work because you get 30. Let's say it's possible you get 30 or combine 60 from them. You already have a different type of build, and you saved a bunch of money. You could spend it elsewhere. You just got to hope that Towns or Şengün don't get 60.
So here's my new thesis. My new thesis is that Hart gets ruled out at 654.
Oh wow,
that's my new theory.
I hope you're wrong.
I know.
But
game time decision is game time decision, you know?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you got to release anything at 6:30, you know?
Yeah. It's true. Boy, Josh Hart is the dream fantasy guy in a way, because it's weird. He never takes shots. He shoots the ball less than anybody else who plays as many minutes as he does. Right. And he just always gets there. Just always. All right, let's see. Yeah, these projections are loving Buddy Hield. I am confused a little bit. And the Rockets have lost 15 in a row to Golden State, and they're going to win this game tonight. That's my take.
Okay. Well, they've been going. They're gunning for this thing.
Yeah, for sure. Boy, I'm getting all kinds of the Bogdanovich in my most recent one, and I wonder why that is. Yeah, you got the Capella. I got 30% Capella and 25% Okongwu. So I don't quite have 60 between them, but close. Which means I'm going to naturally just be underweight Şengün or Towns. Right now it's Şengün, but I might flip that. There's not a big enough ownership gap between the two of them. I liked your MMA idea a little bit. Towns has just been so automatic. That's the thing that's hard, you know?
Towns?
Yeah, he's just automatically. He's like, every game is 45 or better, and you're going to need raw points. A lot of respect for the Knicks with this 8-point spread. Oh, they're minus 340. That's a big, Atlanta's been pretty damn good. It's just like they've beaten everybody recently. They beat the Celtics. They beat the Cavs. And it's a lot of respect for the Knicks. All right. So one other thing that I considered is making a minimum of 4 from the Golden State Houston game. Because I think that you're going to end up with 5, 6 in most lineups from the early game. What do you think about that idea?
Say that one more time.
What if you went minimum 4 from Golden State, Houston?
Yeah, that's something.
It's something. I'm just thinking of different ways, And the other part, it really depends on what tournaments you're playing. Like obviously my highest buy-in, I don't mind eating a lot of this chalk. But for the lottery, which is mostly what I'm playing, I think you should take giant gambles. Maybe less so in basketball, but still. Okay, I got 10% of Precious. That's something. 10% of Dyson Daniels. That's something. But still, Kuminga, Towns, Brunson, Bogdanovich, and on DraftKings. And on FanDuel, where I'm just playing $6, I'm probably willing to make it even bigger things. I'm just playing that $6 tournament, but I haven't found the low-owned play to go with yet. I'm just going to take a quick look here. Daniel's over there too. No, it's not low enough. Gary Payton, that might be the one for me. I like him in this matchup because he's like active. He does a lot of different things. Yeah, I think I can talk myself into Gary Payton as a low-owned thing I'm willing to do on FanDuel. And Precious. I did a similar thing. I didn't do 60 like on FanDuel. I put my cap at my max at 59.9, so at least I'm leaving 100 on the table everywhere. Now it's not a huge thing, but again, just trying to find little tweaks. Buddy Hield on FanDuel currently projected to be the second highest owned player. It does feel fishy with all this Golden State, like the Golden State chalky guys, just because we know that with them, they really it could be a totally different game tonight than the previous one, and you have a totally different lineup out there. They play 11 guys. So
Josh Hart warming up pregame looks like he's moving well.
Yeah, I think he's going to play. All right, I'm going to save these just so I have something saved into my lineups here.
It's a no-name account that's posting it, but it's like a picture of Josh Hart warming up.
That's something. I mean, if he's warming up, I know Josh Hart, like he's playing. Unless one of the medical guys tries to tell him he's not playing, he's playing. And he's probably playing 42 minutes also on top of it.
He's playing a full 40. And then Tim's going to say, dude, you're either playing or you're not. If you're playing, it's going to be a four handle under your minutes. I promise you.
Right. Right. How's the I feel like the Knicks are starting to I mean their offense has been awesome this year, but they're like the opposite of what the team they thought they were getting. They're not this defensive juggernaut. How is that? What's the attitude like around Knicks fans? You know Knicks fans.
The hell do I know? I can't watch the Knicks. I don't know anything about the Knicks.
Oh, right. The stupid bullshit.
The Knicks are the team I've watched less than the Knicks than any other team in the league. That's the NBA,
Yeah. It's so crazy.
You either have season tickets or you never see the team. Well, I know
it's an insane concept, and people are wondering. What's crazy is there's all this stuff about how the ratings are down across the league, although for big games they're not. I'm like, what do you think's going on? This is so obvious, I
mean, I've seen 74 Indiana Pacer games, and God knows I know everything about the San Antonio Spurs and whatever, but I don't know anybody on the Knicks. Why would I know anybody on the Knicks? It's either that or you have to listen to New York sports radio. I don't even know where the radio is in my house. You know what I mean? Who listens to the radio?
Right. That's pretty fun. All right. So I just reran my stuff. I'm going to post my exposures once I have them settled here. Josh Hart
Hart is in. Yeah.
All right. There we go.
Hart is in. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rerun projections. I'm going to upload them, and then I will build my lineups on screen. So we'll do that. First, let me do the projections.
I'm running into another issue with the builder again.
It's yelling at you?
No, I'm not even. It's just not letting me transfer over to FanDuel. When I do, nothing actually happens.
What do you transfer over?
When I save my. Oh, you know what it is? I think I might have had the wrong one. That might have been user error. Yesterday it was definitely not user error. But what I had to do was so it would not eliminate the PJ Washington lineups for me. So I had to go through. I had to manually just eliminate him and then upload my contest file again and then redo it. And then it worked.
Oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't do a showdown, did I?
What's that? Oh, you didn't do the showdown.
No, let me see what those contests look like. Hold on, let me just see. Maybe I'll do it a little bit. Let's
tell you what I'm excited while you do that. I'm excited about tomorrow. Tomorrow's the biggest football game for my team all season.
Oh, that's a big one, huh?
Yeah, San Francisco at LA. It's a massive game. I'm sorry, LA at San Francisco. But I'm pumped about that one.
Yeah, I guess I missed it. It's like only 2K for first in the lottery.
I think there was a big one earlier because there was.
I think I missed it. That's what I'm saying. Let's see the Golden State one. The Golden State one's 50K for first. I'm doing that. I'm doing that.
Yeah, fire it.
I don't know what I'm doing with it yet, but I got to remember to do this. So I'm
Tari Eason. Assuming that he plays.
Tari Eason, that's way too popular. I mean, you gotta
as a captain,
play guys that aren't even playing. I mean,
as a captain,
that's true. The captain, sure. I'd like to say the last time I played NBA Showdown, I won it.
Ooh,
I think
this is a good take. What about this take? No, I mean, I don't know if it's a good take, but it's a totally reasonable take. Draymond and Dylan Brooks getting ejected tonight. I don't disagree with that as a possibility. That's in the range of outcomes. So
that's like almost a lock.
What if you X those guys out? I wonder. That's interesting, actually.
That's not bad.
That's something.
And he's in that mood right now, Draymond.
Yeah, it's pretty funny when you never know with that guy.
He gets in that mood, man.
Yeah, that's right.
Is he going to coach one day? I hope he coaches one day.
He will for sure.
Yeah.
And also he'll be the best analyst. He'll be like the next.
That's what I'm saying. He's a much better analyst than coach.
I actually think he would be a good coach because he really understands the game so well. He just is like little loony. But remember, this guy was like the model college player in the history of basketball. Like,
where did he play? Michigan State.
He played Michigan State. He played 4 different positions while he was there. He played the 1, 2, 3, and the 4. Each year he started at a different position. And he was like the ideal college player, and because of that, he got overlooked in the NBA.
All right, we're gonna do this pure. So we're gonna run our DraftKings. We're not gonna build 5,000 freaking lineups. We only need 5,000 lineups. We'll do 2,500 lineups, 2-game freaking slate. Okay, and you watch the 2,500 first lineup takes down all the cheese. So we'll build 2,500 lineups. And again, we haven't done this process in a while for everybody. Got a bunch of 71 people watching this freaking 2-game slate recap. Mm-hmm. We got the different streams going though. So it's
the only one's crazy enough to try it. Everybody else gave their takes this morning.
I guess. So then what we're gonna do is we're gonna run the Sims with what are we going to use? You want to use, let's use the stock Saber Sim lineups fields. Again, I just think it's better than me putting my own in right now. If it was like tennis or even LOL, I'd probably put my own in, but we're going to just use theirs. So again, just to reiterate, contests, the quarterfinal special, I mean, it has everything preloaded, with like how many people, what it pays. And if you wanted to, you can go and check these fields out. I'm not particularly in the mood to go look through them. But so like if I wanted to see what I would get without running anything, like I would be getting, if I'm not 86% Kuminga. Yeah, you're right, 70% healed. That's pretty cool, I guess. So we're not gonna run the Sims first. Let's do a few min uniques. Actually, let's run the Sims first. Okay. You can't really do anything until you can, but we're gonna run the Sims. So you see 0-4 completed. That means it's running Sims against 4 contests. Because those are the amount of contests that I'm playing. One of them is complete. Oh, it's already done. Let's just make sure that it had them all. I think it did. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go min uniques. I'm going to make it so these are get a little bit different. So right now I'm looking at a min destination ROI of 66, max destination ROI of 135. So let's just go min uniques a little bit more until it gets dinged by some amount that feels bad. Oh, there it is. So you see, like when I have min uniques 2, this minimum destination ROI was at 64. Then when I went to min uniques 3, it just got crushed down to 32. So to me, that's a sign that I should go to only min uniques 2. And then, so the difference between direct fill and autofill. So if you do direct fill, what it'll do is take all of these lineups or whatever, all of your builds, and it will average the ROIs and give you the top 142 average ROIs of all these, and then it will just load them into your lineups. As opposed to autofill, it's a little different. What autofill does is it goes contest by contest. So what it does is first it'll sim against the power dunk, and then after it puts that one lineup in the power dunk, it will remove that lineup for the total pool and then rerun everything again for the quarterfinal special, put 100 lineups in that, and then remove those from the pool, and so on and so on. So what you want to do if you want to do this, it's definitely more specific, but you want to kind of create this kind of hierarchy of lineups so that, like, if something did sim in all 4 contests, you're only going to get it in one of them. So you want to make sure that you get it in the one that, means the most to you. So I just sort by fee. So I want to make sure that the power dunk gets the best one. Mm-hmm. So we're going to do it like this, and then we're just going to hit autofill, save to contests, and then we are just banging it out. Now, again, no excuse to avoid late swapping tonight. Okay, there's nothing else going on. There's no football. There's nothing good on television. There's only one freaking game that you have to worry about. Okay, you can find 5 minutes to go and late swap. Okay, so now they're all up there. Make sure no one's out. So you know what's interesting? These guys have not been actually announced as starters yet. That's why they're not green. Okay, but I am getting, not surprisingly, just all kinds of stuff from that first game. I just am.
Yeah.
77% Kuminga. Now, an interesting question is going to be at 52% Dylan Brooks. Interesting question is going to be is if I'm not doing so well, do I swap off of Kuminga?
Can you play Podziemski instead, for example?
Yeah, it depends on what you see. I look at it a little bit differently. The real accurate way to the optimal way to do late swap is to not just say, "Oh, I'm screwed. I'm just going to just go for the throw or whatever to try to win." The real way to do it is to try to like scrap and min cash. But I'm not interested in that really. So even if Kuminga would give me a better chance to maybe min cash, I'm probably just going to try to swap off him anyway. So that's just the way I'm doing it. All right, so let's go to FanDuel. FanDuel, literally same process. So let's upload the projections, and there's no changes needed because there's all the guys that we expected to be in are in.
Can I ask a dumb question real quick about autofill and direct fill?
Yep.
Why is my autofill have my min destination ROI at 106.9 and my direct fill has negative 75.9?
Because what direct fill does, it's a totally different ranking system. Direct fill just rates all of the lineups and it averages. It takes the top 150 averaged ROI and lists them that way. Where autofill doesn't do that.
So what is autofill telling me the min destination ROI then for?
Well, that's if you put it all in as autofill, that's what the minimum destination ROI would be.
So why is it so much higher with the autofill than
that? I don't know.
Direct. That just seems like I haven't seen that big of a gap before.
I don't get that at all. So I don't know.
I'll ask Jordan.
Well, I'll look at it, but yeah, we'll see. Okay, so let's build these things. I just actually looked today for a reprimer. I looked at one of the Saberson videos on the difference between direct fill and autofill, just so I can explain it a little bit better. But I don't know why it would look differently.
Yeah, it just was a little surprising. Wow, they're like leaving.
Well, I guess also what it is. Remember, the minimum destination ROI is like the minimum one of the ones that it would put in. I guess.
Yeah.
So why would the direct fill one be significantly more or less? You're asking.
It was significantly higher on the autofill than direct.
Higher on the autofill, and the direct fill was because maybe since direct fill is taking the average of them, I don't know. Maybe there's some really, really bad lineups.
Yeah,
among those average of one,
which
30
which
lineups.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in my big one, this is what I did. I got to only 4 in the first game.
That's pretty different. I think
it's just trying to find something, Yeah. I actually love it. I don't think I'm even gonna probably change it. Yeah.
See what I did. So I built 5,000 in FanDuel for some reason. I didn't really have to. So it's stalling on me for the last 200, but it's all right. I still got 6 minutes before dinner, and you know what? It's got plenty of time. No problem.
By the way, anybody interested in season-long bets, they should think about betting on the Warriors and Rockets as a legitimate chance, because I think there's a really reasonable chance Jimmy Butler gets traded in one of those two places.
Really?
Yeah. Although Miami's playing much better, so the talks have kind of died down. But Jimmy did announce today that he was open to a trade with the Suns, Mavs, Rockets, or Warriors. You can get good odds on the Rockets and Warriors, and I think that he actually would be awesome, especially on the Warriors.
I have a dumb question.
Yeah.
Do the NBA players, do they have a right to void trades or no?
It depends on which the contract.
Okay.
It's all different.
Okay.
Jalen Green. Okay. All right. I like these builds I'm getting here. I'm just gonna show my exposure for any site members of what I ended up with.
So same thing. If you looked at what we'd be getting without simming anything, we'd be getting. Let's see what we have. Probably all of it. Oh, still Kuminga, Buddy Hield. This is on FanDuel, and a bunch more of Jabari Smith and Fred VanVleet.
Yeah, those showed up more for me on FanDuel as well.
So we'll send these. And then
Brad Şengün or Brunson.
So let's test this again. So let's look at we'd use direct fill, min destination 73, then down to 67, and then down to 36. So again, back up to min uniques 2, and then let's see what happens. So if you go to autofill, it goes from 67, a little bit worse, down to 52. No real difference for me, but it was actually the opposite for you. All right, so let's save these to contests. Oh, everybody see what I did wrong? So I put the shot, which the lottery, up at the top of the list, which I don't want to do. I want to put the monster at the top of the list. So let's do that again, and we'll resave to the contests. It just goes into the other order, and then we can download these to FanDuel. All right, so tomorrow we have what is it? One game tomorrow? Is it another 2 tomorrow?
It's I think I believe it's either 2 or 3 tomorrow. It might be 3 tomorrow. Let me just double check. Yeah, 3 tomorrow.
And we got the football game, big football game tomorrow.
Big game.
And so I will see you probably at noon tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good, man. Have a good night. And guys, I'm just posting my stuff into the Discord for what I'm doing tonight, and hopefully it's helpful.